Good morning, everybody. So my name is Morgan. I'm an international relations major, but my project and my Keystone has really focused on the planning and pitch for a summer environmental science program that would take place at BU and help to connect Boston Public High School students with the university and help to foster a really inclusive and more diverse environmental science society. So science outreach is critical, and it's really important because the American education system really does not provide properly or support students of color, women, or members of the LGBTQIA+ community. Science outreach is critical for marginalized students because it provides exposure and experience with the sciences through classroom activities, science fairs, and research institution programs. So these kinds of positive experiences and increased interactions allow a student to build their scientific identity and feel not only capable of doing science, but supported and included as well. So this is my program. I was fortunate enough to spend 5 summers doing a science outreach program, and all of the students have gone on to college. All of them have focused their studies on something that's related to environmental science, and most importantly, they return and they build a community. So we know why science outreach, but why environmental science? According to the American Geosciences Institute, Earth and environmental sciences consistently have the lowest rates of underrepresented minorities enrolled in degree programs and pursuing related jobs after their degree. So why in Boston? Boston has a very long history of school segregation, racism, and structural inequalities in the education system, which continues to have impacts on funding and access that students have to science education today. So why at Boston University? BU has multiple summer programs for high schoolers. Most of them, however, are tuition-based, and that is a barrier for low-income students, and it's a magnet for wealthier students who already know that they feel confident in science. So free programs do exist at BU from both the past and the present, but they are not environmental science based. This means that BU really has an opportunity and a chance to participate in the creation of a future with representation and support for the students who need it the most. So after completing all of that preliminary research, I launched into developing the curriculum, the project plan, and identifying resources of funding, and I networked with people around campus to build a community of people who would be interested in this kind of project. So I developed small-scale, hands-on research plans that would take place over the summer and allow students to take control of their project, because that's really what it's about. The goal is not to publish a paper. It's not to make some huge discovery. It's really to work on a team, learn how to support one another, and feel confident in your capability of pursuing the scientific process. So a pilot summer would have students working on maybe small Arduino boards, learning how to code air quality sensors, gathering their own data from around campus. Maybe they would delve into the history of the Charles River and all of the pollution, and they would explore water quality from the combined sewage outflows that are along the Esplanade. Or maybe they would look at habitat management and look at how ecological indicators change once you remove an invasive species like Phragmites australis. So a 6-week schedule would take place through which students would be on campus for more or less a full work week. They would get an orientation, research, data analysis, team building, and mentorship. So in the first week, you would have orientation, you would get to know your team, you would get to know the campus, and you would really get to understand the basics of the science that you're going to be pursuing while you're doing this program. You would come to campus Monday through Thursday in the morning. You would arrive, you would get into your team, and you would choose what data site you're going to go to. You would collect this data, you would code the sensor, you would go to the CSO outflow, and you would really set up your research site. On Fridays, this is when you would do your data analysis, your team building. This is where you build the foundation of the relationships that you would carry with you into the future. In the last week, you would start to wrap up your project, you would start to analyze that data, and you would have chances to meet with professors to understand what your data means. And then on the last day, in the culmination of the project, you would really get to celebrate all of the work that you did and the relationships that you built. So after working on what the students would be doing, I moved into the how to make it happen phase, which I can tell you is a lot harder. I looked into potential funding sources, which would be a collection of grants, local student sponsorships, and foundation support. I met with program coordinators at BU to learn about the grant writing process. and the different ways that you would be able to pitch your program, or maybe grants that I would be able to piggyback off of. I received budget spreadsheets from former programs, and I used those to make a baseline for what a program would look like. One of the key parts that my program is focusing on is a stipend. So students who would come to this program would have been able to get a summer job. And these are students who would have potentially needed a summer job. And that stipend would be able to decrease that opportunity cost of spending all this time at a summer program that wouldn't otherwise pay. So in a rough outline, that's very highly project dependent. Stipends and salaries for program coordinators and the administrators would take up most of the budget. So finally, I met with a lot of people and I emailed even more. I met with students on campus who are leaders of environmental organizations to gauge interest in participation in a program like this. These students would be the ones interacting day to day and leading the teams of students. I met with graduate students to learn about their mentorship experience and how they build outreach and research into their research and responsibilities. I met with professors in Wheelock and in Earth and Environment to talk about how the program would be administrated, coordinated, and how it would be able to be built to have the most impact. The vision for the program has definitely shifted. It was originally purely going to be under Earth and Environment, and now it's more looking like it would be better to have it under Wheelock in partnership with Earth and Environment. Sorry. In order to increase student support and make the program more manageable for all of those who are involved. So I anticipated that the networking would be the slowest part of the project, and I was correct, but it was also the most important part because now I think that the program has the best chance to really support students in the way that they would need to. So my project set out to plan a program that would increase environmental science outreach at BU by developing a curriculum, budget information, and building a network. So although the project is done, the work isn't, and I'm going to continue to pitch this plan to professors, school administration, and funding organizations, and I hope to have a pilot program that would take off in a coming summer. And so I would like to say thank you to Kilachand, to my advisor, to everybody who listened to me talk about this for over a year, and I would love to take any questions. Alex?
So this sounds like it could make some really important contributions to getting students involved in science from an early age. So I was wondering what your plans would be for kind of outreach to make, I guess, the students you're targeting aware that these kinds of programs exist and make sure they know that there's no financial barriers to them participating, and just to make sure you're getting enough awareness among the populations that you really want to target.
Yeah, so in a pilot summer, I would think that it would be best, because BU does have connections to some local high schools, it would probably be best to reach out to the science teachers who are there, who know students who would be interested in something like this, and get a small cohort, maybe like 5 students, to come. And then if it's proven to be a success, then you would get more funding, you would be able to do more outreach, and hopefully you would be able to get, maybe most Boston public high schools sending students.
What idea do you have in place for tracking the success of the program, of following the students year after year who come into the program, how they go on to college, what kind of tracking?
Well, that's why it would be so important to have those Friday team building activities and connection building, because that would increase the chances that the students would return, and then you would be able to build an even deeper network and bring them back as undergraduate leaders, bring them back as speakers once they have gone on to graduate school or have a job. And so really building a place where they feel like they are supported and connected, that's how you would continue to track them, because they would want to be there and want to be not tracked, but participating.
Hi, Morgan. Can you say a little bit about why you think it'd be better to house it at Wheelock than somewhere else, like why that would be the primary place that you would want to put it?
So that would be because the Wheelock Science Education Department really understood from the get-go that the point is not to publish research. A lot of the programs that are here at BU are focused on bringing the students into research so that they can get their name on a paper. Wheelock seemed to get it almost immediately that the goal is to build these relationships and build confidence in the students.
Really nice job, Morgan. I'm wondering about the connection, actually, between your project and what Sydney told us. So thinking about companies that want to have good names in sustainability, why not have them do some philanthropy to support your work? And so then is there a metric in the ESG that would tie these two things together?
That would actually be really interesting to look into. I do know one of the things that I did when identifying budget sources was go on to like philanthropic websites and see what kind of programs and organizations are funding projects like this and providing money to research opportunities. And there are a bunch. I mean, there's the one that sticks in my head is Mazda, but there are car companies, pharmaceutical companies, just general like retail stores that are looking into funding science research.
Great stuff, because the cost of one of those handbags would make a big difference to a program of the size that you are talking about.
Yeah, actually, if you could just sell one of those to me, I think I could fund a pilot.
Okay, if there's no more questions, let's thank Morgan again for the great talk.